Ever wonder why presenting solid facts to someone with opposing political views often feels like hitting a brick wall? It's not just about stubbornness. We're diving deep into the empathy gap, the real reason why carefully crafted emotional narratives often triumph over logical arguments, and how that's reshaping our political landscape. In an era where information is infinite, our ability to process it rationally is being bypassed by engineered feelings. Today, we aren't just debating policies, we are fighting a war of sentiments where evidence is the first casualty. 1. The Mirage of Reason, introducing the empathy gap. We like to believe we are rational creatures who collect data and then form opinions. But in 2026, the reality is often the reverse. We see this in major global debates, where a single viral video can derail years of peer-reviewed research. This is the empathy gap. It is a cognitive chasm where a manufactured emotional connection bypasses our rational filters entirely. When a narrative makes us feel something, fear, anger, or even a sense of belonging, our brains prioritize that feeling over any statistic. This isn't just a local political quirk, it is a systemic shift in global discourse where truth is increasingly defined by how much a story resonates with our existing emotional state. 2. Engineering emotions, the mechanics of manufactured sentiment. How exactly is our sentiment manufactured? It begins with the weaponization of the personal story. Political architects today use micro-targeted anecdotes to trigger an immediate emotional response. This is further amplified by social media algorithms designed for affective polarization. These systems are programmed to prioritize content that sparks high arousal emotions like outrage. By 2026, these echo chambers have become so sophisticated that they don't just reinforce what you think, they dictate how you feel about people who think differently. We have seen case studies where engineered sentiment has successfully killed evidence-based proposals simply by reframing them as a threat to a community's identity. 3. The brain's blind spots, why facts fall flat. To understand why facts fail, we must look at our biological hardware. Our brains possess several blind spots that make us susceptible to emotional manipulation. First, there is confirmation bias, where we only seek information that supports our existing feelings. Then, there is the backfire effect. Research shows that when someone's core beliefs are challenged with contradictory facts, the brain's amygdala lights up as if it's under physical attack. Instead of changing their mind, the person often becomes more entrenched in their original view. Evolutionarily, we are wired to respond to warm narratives long before we can process cold data. In the past, reacting to a perceived threat was more important than analysing its probability. Today, that same instinct makes us vulnerable to the architects of division. 4. The architects of division. Who benefits from the gap? The empathy gap isn't a natural accident. It is an economic and political asset. The primary beneficiaries are the architects of division, political consultants, certain media outlets, and foreign influence operations that treat public sentiment as a commodity. In the 2026 attention economy, engagement is the only metric that matters. Emotionally charged content generates more clicks, which leads to higher ad revenue and larger donor contributions. These actors have realised that it is far cheaper and more effective to manufacture a feeling of us versus them than it is to build a complex, evidence-based policy platform. The long-term societal consequence is the erosion of institutional trust. 5. The biodigital convergence, affective realism in the age of AI. As we move deeper into 2026, we are witnessing a phenomenon known as affective realism. This is a state where your brain's internal emotional state literally dictates what your senses perceive. When you are fed a constant stream of high-stress, emotionally charged digital content, your brain stays in a state of high cortisol and adrenaline. This physiological threat state makes it biologically impossible for the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logic, to function at full capacity. We aren't just being lied to, our biological systems are being hacked to perceive any opposing fact as a survival threat. In this biodigital loop, the screen becomes an extension of the nervous system, allowing manufactured sentiment to trigger physical stress responses that override the eye's ability to see the truth. 6. The Epistemological Crisis, the strategic weaponization of skepticism. There is a deeper, more complex layer to this crisis: the death of the shared fact. In the past, we disagreed on the meaning of facts. Today, we disagree on the existence of them. This is a deliberate epistemological strategy called radical skepticism. Architects of division don't always try to make you believe a lie. They try to make you stop believing anything at all. By flooding the information landscape with contradictory emotional narratives, they create a state of cognitive exhaustion. When people are tired and confused, they stop looking for the truth and start looking for comfort. They retreat into tribal identities where the only facts that matter are the ones that make their side look like the hero and the other side look like the villain. In this reality, skepticism, once a tool for scientific inquiry, has been weaponized to protect ideology. 7. Simulated sentiment, the rise of post-policy governance. We are entering the era of post-policy governance, where the actual mechanics of law and economics are secondary to the simulation of sentiment. Governments and corporations are increasingly using sentiment analysis AI to govern based on the loudest emotional outcry rather than the most effective long-term solution. This creates a dangerous feedback loop where policy is designed to appease the manufactured outrage of the weak rather than addressing the structural problems of society. It is a form of algorithmic realism where the goal of leadership is no longer to lead, but to manage the public's emotional vibe. When sentiment becomes the primary currency of power, complex realities like national debt, infrastructure decay, or climate change are ignored because they don't produce a viral emotional narrative. 8. Bridging the divide, reclaiming rational discourse. If sentiments are being manufactured, then our first line of defense is awareness. We can reclaim rational discourse by practicing analytical empathy. This means learning to identify the difference between a factual argument and an emotional hook. Before reacting to a viral headline, ask yourself, does this content want me to think, or does it want me to feel? We also need a shift in media literacy, checking the funding behind sources and actively seeking out diverse perspectives. On a technological level, there is hope for AI systems that can label emotionally manipulative content without censoring it. The goal is to move from a state of outrage to a state of inquiry. By fostering genuine empathy and critical thinking, we can begin to rebuild the foundations of productive political debate. Conclusion: navigating a world of sentiments. The political empathy gap is perhaps the greatest challenge of our modern era. It is the invisible force that prevents us from seeing the humanity in our neighbours and the logic in our solutions. In our previous analyses, we explored how the evolution of education is shifting towards skills over status, and how the struggle for blue gold is creating new geopolitical flashpoints. But neither technological innovation nor resource management can succeed if our political systems remain paralysed by manufactured sentiment. The future belongs to those who can master their emotions, not just their information. Here is a thought to leave you with. In your next political discussion, try to find the why behind the person's feeling, rather than the error in their fact. You might find that the brick wall is thinner than it looks. Stay informed, stay resilient, and let's build a future of clarity together.